Hello everybody, my name is Tom Timbrooks. I am running for, let's see if I can get it right this time, Oregon's 6th Congressional District for the United States Congress. I want to be your congressional representative for Oregon's 6th Congressional District. I am a Republican. That's why I'm getting an early start. Yeah, the elections are like next year in 2026, November 2026. So being a Republican in Oregon, that's kind of a difficult thing. So, you know, I want to do I have a very big task in front of me, you know, getting the people in Oregon to trust in a conservative Republican. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So, yeah, welcome to my show. This is how I'm going to get my message out to everybody. So, got some slides, and we're gonna go over the slides now. Okay, so here we go. That's me. That's my pretty face. I know, I'm so good looking there. So yeah, the whole deal there. More jobs for Oregon means less dependence on government welfare. And my thing there is I'm a manufacturing engineer. I most recently worked with the Intel facility in Aloha in Oregon. And we did a pretty good job. I really helped to increase productivity, profitability for the company, and did a lot for their financial situation. But you know, working with the marketing group, that's something else that I've done. I've worked with marketing. Marketing is a very important part of any company. Every company is only as good as their marketing group, and Intel's marketing group is just a phenomenal marketing group. They're just an amazing group of people. I was very, very proud to have worked with them. And we really accomplished a lot. In spite of that, Intel's stock did go from $65 a share down to $25 a share. So yeah, I'm an out of work manufacturing engineer right now, but you know, that's just one of the things you get used to when you're working as an engineer. But anyways, that goes around. But anyways, so creating jobs for Oregon. Being a manufacturing engineer, I understand what the manufacturing environment needs. I've gone over this in some of my other presentations. There are things that I believe should be manufactured in America only. One of them is programmable logic controllers. They control everything in America. The entire infrastructure is controlled by programmable logic controllers. And these things really need to be made in America because they are programmable and they are susceptible to malware and backdoorware. And presently, they aren't all made in America. And so whatever we need to make sure they are, because we don't want some hostile people who don't really like America. We don't want them messing with our infrastructure. We don't want them turning all the traffic lights green for some reason, and you know, overwhelming our emergency system and hurting a bunch of people. So, yeah, let's get all those made in America. Very important idea. So, anyways, you know, back to this guy. I hope I don't bore you guys too much. So. One of my two slogans here is that you know, George Carlin said, "Never underestimate the power of stupid people in large numbers." Well, what I'm saying is never underestimate the collective potential for tyranny and hypocrisy from strategically placed, ideologically indoctrinated politicians and the activists who enable them. And that's my slogan. It's a little bit wordier than George Carlin's, but I'm aiming mine at politically minded people. I'm aiming my slogan. I want people to wake up. I want people to think. I want people to understand that in today's political environment, there are a lot of things happening that have never really happened before. I mean, The power of communication is just incredible. Something can happen halfway around the world right now, and the entire planet can be informed immediately. I mean, when I was growing up, we had to wait for the news, we had to wait for the newspaper, we had to wait for, word of mouth or something like that. And I mean, there were a lot of things that were happening when I was a kid growing up that we didn't hear about until it was all over with and finished. I mean, now we have political activists all over Oregon, all over the United States that are grouping together and doing things that are just, they're just really annoyed. What was it? There was a Christian rally, a bunch of just Christian people having a little rally, having some fun, doing a group prayer, group stuff that Christians do, and they were assaulted by a bunch of Antifa people who just wanted to. They just wanted to interfere with the rally. I mean, they didn't really have any kind of agenda. They just wanted to interfere. They were saying, well, you're Christians, therefore we're going to interfere. You're having a Christian rally and Christians don't fit into our narrative, so we're going to interfere with your rally. And so I found out about that just like immediately, almost as it was happening. I'm scanning through Facebook and it's like, yeah, Antifa people go over. This is stuff that happens really quickly. And this is the last part of what I'm saying. The activists who enable the ideologically indoctrinated politicians, okay? If you're an ideologically indoctrinated politician, first of all, the whole purpose of the government is to accomplish collectively that which cannot be accomplished by the individual. And our founding document, the Declaration of Independence, states very specifically life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is the government's responsibility to guarantee to all of its citizens life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If the government is not protecting everybody's pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, then the government really isn't doing its job. So that's what, as far as I can see, that's kind of what Antifa is preventing. Antifa is preventing people from exercising their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These people want, this Christian rally makes these people happy. They should feel perfectly free to do that. But, this kind of stuff happens, and the politicians really aren't doing much about it, in my opinion, because, well, they are on the side of the liberals. It's like these two kids who got shot down, over in Washington D.C. They got, oh God, I don't know what I can say to keep it on YouTube. These two kids who they had some terrible stuff happen to them in Washington D.C. and nobody really rallied behind any kind of Second Amendment, restricting the Second Amendment rights. And it just seems that some of the politicians out there are perfectly all right with certain things happening as long as the people who are doing it support their agenda. And I mean, I think the same types of stuff happens with conservatives and liberals, and I think that's something that really has to be fixed. If I become, you vote for me, you put me in Washington D.C., this is the kind of thing that I'm gonna look into. I'm going to try to fix, because politicians aren't there to support their own agenda. Politicians aren't there to protect their own narrative. Politicians are there to serve you. You have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Like I said, that is our founding document, the Declaration of Independence. The Constitution is one of the founding documents, but the Constitution I don't think is, well, I guess it's equally important. The Constitution, the founding document, the Declaration of Independence states, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. This is why we are parting from England. This is why we became an independent constitutional republic. Our Constitution was created as sort of a roadmap on how we are going to accomplish the 6 things that our government is going to dedicate itself to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That's the Constitution serves as a roadmap on how we are going to make sure everybody in America has life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, so it's the politician's job to ensure life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we have to do it within the framework of the Constitution. So whenever we, as a people, ignore justice, we ignore people's right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in support of our own personal agenda, our own personal, the narrative we have from this, politically indoctrinated crowd, we are doing a disservice to the people that we serve. So that is something, as a representative, you choose me to be your representative, that is one of the things that I will work to fix in Washington, D.C. So, and that's what I'm talking about on that part there. You see that the ideologically indoctrinated politicians and the activists who enable them, the politicians would not be supporting this agenda if they did not have the Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and these people working with them. They would, the reason they feel safe in doing what they do is because they have these activists that are supporting them. And it's not just the liberals, the conservatives have the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and so forth. So each side can claim a little bit of guilt in that. And it's really up to Congress to make sure that we are focused on the important things in America, and that is life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and keep it within the framework of the Constitution. Okay, so that's what this is all about here in my little thing. I want to make sure that it's an inclusive message. I want to make sure that nobody's left out. I want to make sure that people know liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican. I will be a person working for you. And the collective potential for tyranny and hypocrisy, it's like I'm saying, any kind of tyranny, any kind of hypocrisy that comes about as a result of one party or the other seeking their own agenda or trying to support their own narrative and working outside of the boundaries of the framework of the Constitution, that is what I'm going to be looking into. Okay, so then that's what I said. I'm going to be working for you. I hope you decide to vote for me. So a little while ago, I was watching Congress talking to our new Ted Kennedy. Ted Kennedy, he's being asked by Congress, what do you think about measles? Should children be vaccinated for the measles? And my answer to that is, of course, yes, they should. But yeah, I put some slides together here. But anyways, Ted Kennedy was, he was hesitant to answer. And I think the reason he was hesitant to answer isn't because, I'm sure he believes that children should be vaccinated for the measles. But I'm also sure that he is suspicious of the method by which the measles vaccine is created, and by which it is administered, by which it is developed, and so forth. So that's what I'm going to get into right now, is the idea behind the measles vaccine. So let me go ahead and start my little slides out here. So measles vaccine argument, okay? Here's how the measles work. Now, the measles is a virus. You catch this virus, your body reacts to the virus by building up this, sending their antibodies out, and the body does its little thing there. So measles doesn't just cause a transient fever and rash. It actually erases much of the body's existing immunological memory, a phenomena called immune amnesia, okay? Now, I'm absolutely certain that this is something none of you knew about, because I spoke to a doctor. I was at the doctor's office about a month ago, and I was talking about, I have this cough and everything. I was just, hey, can you tell me about it, right? The doctor asked me something about vaccinations, and this made me think about me as I said, well, you know what I understand about measles and the vaccination for measles and like that? If you catch the measles, it erases your immune memory. And the doctor was saying, really? Oh, I didn't know that. I'll have to look into it. So if a practicing doctor doesn't know about this, then I'm relatively certain that nobody out there is, okay? And this is the way your human immune system, okay? Your immune system comes from your bone marrow, okay? You got bones all over your body, and the bones have got marrow in them, and that marrow, it has all kinds of stuff that it puts into your body, red blood cells and immune cells. Okay, and for your immune system, your body's immune system, you have 5 different kinds of cells. I'm not going to list them here because I'd probably screw it up, but yeah, I do. You have 5 different kinds of immune cells, okay? Now, one of your immune cells that you have is all of them have a certain amount of memory, but some of them have an extended memory. Okay, now what this means is if you get the measles when you're a child, your body will still be immune to the measles 100 years later. So 100 years later, you get the measles when you're 0 years old, you will not get the measles when you're 100 years old. That's quite a memory. I mean, I can't remember why I walked into the kitchen half of the time. Your immune system is, that's got quite a memory. 100 years. That's pretty decent and everything. In fact, so anyways, yeah. So that is what the measles attack. See, the measles will attack some of your immune cells, so that's what happens. See, you build up immunities. You've got, let's say when you're born, you're 0 years old, you get, chicken pox, you get the flu, you get mumps, you get rubella, you get, all these childhood illnesses, but you never get the measles until let's say you're 5 years old, 6 years old, okay? So you're 6 years old and you catch the measles. All of those illnesses that you just had are going to be forgotten by your body. Your immune system has actually been compromised by the measles. The measles virus attacks your immune system, and the immune cells that get attacked by the measles are the ones that remember all of the illnesses you got. So it does a reset. It actually does a reset on your immune system. And that's what we're talking about here, the actual reset on your immune system, okay? And that's something that I'm willing to bet none of you knew about. If you did know about it, well, good for you. You're up there. You're a smart person and everything. So anyways, go back to these guys here. The measles virus binds to the signaling lymphocyte activation molecule, SLAMF1, also called CD150, on the surface of immune cells, especially in the lymphoid tissues of the respiratory tract. Yeah, it does that. Measles is a jerk. It infects and kills key players in adaptive immunity, namely memory B cells, memory T cells, and long-lived plasma cells, which normally store and deploy antibodies and rapid response T cell defense against pathogens the body has seen before. So, like I said, it attacks the cells that remember what happened. Okay, so it's very important that you are exposed to the measles as early as possible. Okay, that's an important thing. You need to, in fact, the very first virus you should be exposed to is the measles, because after being exposed to the measles, you're vaccinated against the measles, and anything your body comes in contact with after that is an additional memory. It will be remembered by your immune system, okay? So, yeah, it's just like rebooting your computer. You know, you turn it on, you get it up, and then you're like, you go through a reset, boom, it's better that way, right? So, anyways, the destruction of the immune memory structures. Beyond direct lymphocyte killing, measles disrupts the germinal centers and follicular dendritic cells in lymph nodes and the spleen, structures essential for archiving antibody-producing cells. Without these niches, surviving memory cells can't persist effectively. Okay? So, that's what I was just saying. You've got the memory cells, they can't persist, so they die off. So measles resets your immune system. Your immune system forgets all the stuff that it had previously encountered. Okay, so basically, what Ted Kennedy should have said was, yes, children should be immunized. Children should be vaccinated against the measles before they are vaccinated against anything. Measles is the single most important virus for children to be vaccinated against. Yes. He didn't say that for reasons that I will get to soon, okay? Repopulation with a narrowed repertoire. And this is a very important thing, okay? After the acute infection, the body replenishes its lymphocyte pool. However, the new cells are overwhelmingly specific to measles. As a result, antibody diversity to previously encountered pathogens can fall by 11 to 73%, leaving gaps in protection. And this is the important thing to understand about measles, okay? After your body encounters the measles virus, not the measles vaccine. The vaccine and the virus are slightly different things, okay? You encounter measles. You overcome. Your immune system kills off the measles virus, no problem. Because all of the virus has killed off a whole bunch of your antibodies. All of the antibodies that are going to be reproduced and replenished, your body is going to create a new supply of these antibodies. They are all going to be completely clueless. They aren't going to know what to do. So between 11 and 73%, that's what they're talking about. See, your antibodies take care of bacteria and viruses, not just viruses, but bacteria also. Now, let's say you had a bacterial infection that came along right after the measles virus. You catch measles, your body does a great job, kicks butt on the measles, gets the measles right out of there, right? And then you have a bacterial infection. Well, your antibodies are going to be like, oh, what's this bacterial infection? The bacteria is going to be like, Oh, we're friends. Yeah, we're friends of the T cells. Yeah, we're their friends. And so your antibodies are just going to be totally clueless, and they're going to be like, should we let these guys in? Well, they say that they're friends of the T cells. I don't know. Yeah, just let them in. And that's the way that's going to happen. So you, as a child, you get the measles. Your immune system is going to be completely unaware of anything until it happens again. You get a bacterial infection. It's going to take a long time for your body to react, and so forth with that. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is the measles wreaks havoc on your immune system after you recover from the measles. So here's the timeline. You catch the measles, you kick the measles butt, that's not a problem, okay? This period of time, you catch the measles, boom, you've kicked its butt, okay? Now this period of time, that's the period of time with your compromised immune system, even longer perhaps. You have a very long time of a compromised immune system. Your immune system is definitely trained on the measles. Your immune system is like, yeah, we kicked the measles butt. And your immune system is going to be talking about, like, you know, kicking the measles butt for this long, and it's not going to be paying attention to any other viruses or bacteria that come in. So yeah, that's what's going to happen if you actually catch the measles virus, not the vaccine, but the virus. Okay, so the virus is worse than the vaccine, and I'm going to be getting to that. Okay. Clinical consequence, increased susceptibility. Epidemiological studies show that children who recover from measles face a 2 to 3 year window of heightened risk for other infections, pneumonia, diarrhea, even influenza, because their immune systems must rebuild the lost memories one exposure at a time. And this is something that actually happened to me when I was a kid. I was born in 1964, okay? Now, I have two older brothers. One's 6 years older than me, one's 2 years older than me. The one that was 6 years older than me, what parents would do a long time ago is they would find out, hey, this kid in the neighborhood has the measles. So they would send their children over to the measles place and expose their children to the measles. Okay, and this would happen at 1 year old, 6 months old, 2 years old, as early as possible in the child's development. Okay, like I said, it's the first thing you want to encounter. It's the first virus you want to encounter, the measles. Okay, so my oldest brother, 6 years older than me, born in 1958. By 1959, 1960, somewhere around there, he had been exposed to the measles, recovered from it, perfectly fine. My next older brother, born in 1962. By 1964, when the measles vaccine actually was produced and came out, he had already been exposed to the measles and recovered from it, okay? Now, in 1964, the measles vaccine came out, and the number of measles cases was actually coming down. So by the time I was 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, like that, there was really not very many people in my neighborhood who had the measles. And I had not, because the vaccine was limited, my parents were too poor to actually get the vaccine. It was actually pretty expensive when it first came out. So my parents really couldn't afford it. They kept on looking for somebody who had the measles, okay? And eventually I did catch the measles. And there was a period of time, like 2 or 3 years, I think I was probably about 2 or 3 years old when I got the measles, okay? So 64, 65, 66, so 66, 67, somewhere around there when I actually caught the measles, okay? And for 3 years, my immune system was compromised. I caught a virus and it became viral pneumonia. And I remember actually walking into the doctor's office when the doctor was talking to my parents and saying to my parents, if he lives 2 more weeks, his chances of a full recovery are looking very good. And I didn't know who they were talking about. I was a stupid little kid. I had absolutely no idea what they were talking about. I remember my mom doing one of those, oh my God, things. You know, they were preparing for my death. They were preparing for me to be dead, everything, right? So that that is the type of thing that happened to me. I got a personal case of that. I almost died, not from the measles, but from the absence of an immune system, a comprehensive immune system after the measles came around. So this is another reason why the measles vaccine, very, very important, okay? So why the vaccination matters. Because the live attenuated measles vaccine does not destroy memory cells, it prevents both the direct effects of measles and the downstream immune amnesia. By maintaining the integrity of your immune memory, vaccination protects you not only against measles itself, but also against a cascade of secondary infections that can follow a measles infection. Now, here's how the measles vaccination reduces death from infections other than the measles itself. And that's what I was just talking about. Live attenuated measles vaccine, what that means is this. A virus is just a shell, okay? It is a shell. It is a delivery system for some DNA. This shell hooks up to your cell, one of your cells, okay? And the way it hooks up, what the virus is looking for is certain proteins that are on the outside of your cells. And your immune cells, certain cells have got certain proteins, other cells have got different proteins. The virus is looking for proteins where it can click and bond. And once it bonds, it injects its DNA into the cell, and your cell begins to replicate viruses. And that's how the virus multiplies, by hijacking your cell's ability to reproduce and use that ability to reproduce for its own. Okay, so one virus, one cell, thousands of viruses, thousands of cells, and that's why it spreads so quickly. It's geometric. Okay, the attenuated. So let me make sure I'm getting that right. The live attenuated measles vaccine, what happens is this. The DNA that's in the vaccine, okay, it gets weakened. So that whenever the DNA is injected into your cell, or it's entirely, or even if the DNA is empty, if the shell itself is intact, but the DNA is weakened, what will happen is your cells will learn very quickly that this virus is an alien. It's a bad thing, and it needs to be taken care of, okay? So basically, what they're doing is they're creating the measles virus. They create it, they get a batch of measles virus, and they take the virus, they feed it live cells that it likes to eat and use for multiplication, and you get a whole big soup of virus cells, and that's how they get the measles. And then they take this soup of virus cells and they weaken it so that it can't do what it's programmed to do as the measles. You get that vaccine put into you, and your immune system reacts as if it's an actual living virus, but it's not an actual living virus. Okay, it's kind of like target practice for your immune system. Your immune system accepts it as the enemy, but it's not actually going to kill you the way measles would. Okay, so that's what the attenuated thing is. It's a weakened form of the measles virus. Okay, so and here's the way it's going to work. Prevention of measles-induced immune amnesia. Core concept. Wild type measles infection. Wild type. I think it's supposed to be while. Anyways, measles infection erases existing immune memory, leaving you more vulnerable to other pathogens. The measles virus infects and depletes memory B cells, memory T cells, and plasma cells. This loss of immunological archives, called immune amnesia, can persist for 2 to 3 years after infection. By preventing measles infection, the live attenuated vaccine preserves your body's prior antibody repertoire and memory cells. Real world example, in high coverage settings, introduction of the measles vaccine corresponded to a sharp decline in childhood deaths from pneumonia and diarrhea. And you see, that is what we are really looking to do. Most children will be able to overcome measles. It's not the measles we're after, it's the pneumonia, the viruses, all the terrible stuff that the child can catch afterwards. That's what we're going to try to take care of with the vaccine, okay? So, because vaccinated children retain their defenses against those pathogens. Benefits, non-specific heterologous effects. Beyond preventing measles, the live attenuated vaccine trains innate immunity to respond more vigorously to unrelated infections. Okay, now innate, innate, you see the term innate? It trains innate immunity. What you have, your body's immune system, you have the innate immune system and you have the acquired immune system, okay? The innate immune system, you'll notice whenever you're sick, you get a fever. Okay, that is your innate immune system. You'll get, a fever, swelling. Sometimes you'll get some swelling. Swelling is your innate immune system working. Mucus, your mucus. But mucus, I know it's the most disgusting thing in the world, mucus, but mucus is your savior. Never take any kind of medication that tries to reduce the flow of mucus, because mucus, seriously, is one of the best forms of protection your body has, okay? Your body has to take air in. That air is not just air. That air is bacteria, viruses, dust, pollen, dander, dirt, all of the filth in the atmosphere is in the air, and it goes into your nose and in your mouth whenever you're breathing. The mucus that lines the back of your throat and your lungs and your nasal passages and all that stuff, that mucus saves your life every day. Seriously. So if you take a medication that dries you up, don't take it for very long, because if you take away the mucus barrier that protects you, you could probably catch something much, much worse than what you've got, okay? So yeah, mucus is part of your innate immune system. Your acquired immune system is, like I said, the 5 cells in your antibodies they're manufactured in your bone marrow. They go out seeking and destroying all kinds of life in your body, all the bacteria, all the viruses and everything. So your acquired immune system is those other cells, all right? So your innate and your acquired immune system. So, and that's what it's talking about when it says the innate immunity to respond more vigorously to unrelated infections, okay? So, measles vaccination induces trained immunity, epigenetic and metabolic reprogramming of monocytes in NK cells, so that on encountering any pathogen, these cells mount a faster, stronger cytokine response, okay? And this is just your immune system, okay? Don't worry about the big words, your immune system, okay? Real world example, multiple studies report a 30 to 50% reduction in all-cause mortality in the year after measles immunization. Far more than can be explained by measles prevention alone, because children are better primed to fight off other viruses and bacteria. And this is one thing far better than can be explained by measles prevention alone. Okay, you have 2 ways of fighting an infection. Number 1, prevention. Just don't catch the virus, okay? Number 2 is, fighting it off with your immune system. So prevention is basically you find out somebody has the measles and you stay away from them. But see, the problem is if you don't get the measles as a child and you eventually end up getting them as an adult, it could kill you. because your entire immune system is going to be compromised. You know, your immune system is going to forget everything that you caught, chicken pox, rubella, mumps, whatever, and you could catch all these childhood illnesses again as an adult. So you want to be exposed to the measles as a child. It's a very important thing to be exposed as early as possible to the measles or the measles vaccine, okay? So by blocking measles-induced immune amnesia and by broadly enhancing innate defenses, the measles vaccine not only stops a highly contagious virus, but also delivers a powerful boost to overall child survival. So bottom line is this. If you take the measles vaccine out of our public healthcare system, you will see childhood mortality skyrocket. I don't mean just like double or triple or quad. You will see it multiply by 10, 15, or 20. Okay, consider this. By the turn of 1900, the year 1900, 10% of children died before the age of 18. Okay? When we started having immunization programs, public health and education programs, soap and water became readily available, bathing and things like that, they became readily available. That number turned to like 20%, 30%, 40%, okay? But by the time I was born, my parents had a third child. I'm the third child. And the reason parents had a third child back then, I was the insurance policy, because it was very likely that one of my two older brothers may die. My parents knew this. Okay, and this was 1964. We were planning on going to the moon. In 1964, we were preparing to go to the moon. And my parents were still planning on losing one out of their three children. That's what illnesses were like at that time. Things have gotten just astronomically better now, okay? So if you take the measles vaccine away from childhood immunizations, you will see child mortality skyrocket. It'll go back to the time it was back in the 1930s, 1940s, something like that. So you don't want to take the measles vaccine out of the equation. But I'm going to get to the whole Ted Kennedy thing really quick here. Okay, so Ted Kennedy was questioned by Congress about whether or not he would get his children vaccinated. The question should be, do you want your children to be effectively vaccinated? Okay, effectively vaccinated. That is the important thing here, by effectively vaccinated. And here's where I'm going to talk about what could potentially compromise the vaccine. Okay, creating the measles vaccine is an incredibly difficult process. Very long, very arduous, very complicated. It's not something that a third grader can do as a class project. It requires the most stringent process protocols. Okay, it is an incredibly difficult process, not easy to do, and once the vaccine is created, it has to be stored and transported, right? Okay, so to get into that now, live attenuated measles virus, like those in the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, must be kept between 2 degrees and 8 degrees Celsius. That's 5 degrees Celsius plus or minus 3, and it cannot be frozen. Okay, from the manufacturer through administration. So when you are being administered this vaccine, it's around 8 degrees Celsius. Okay, any excursion outside that range irreversibly reduces the viral potency, so the vaccine can fail to take, which means you, as a responsible parent, you'd be like, yeah, I got my kids the vaccine. They got the measles? No, that's impossible. I vaccinated my children. They can't possibly have gotten the measles. I'm a responsible parent. If something happened to the vaccine from during that period of time, it could be compromised. It could be totally useless. Okay, so that's what they're talking about. That's an important factor right there. And if that did happen, then the effectiveness of the vaccine is questionable. So a study of measles rubella vaccines in Brazil and Nigeria found that 50% of the vials tested had fallen below required potency simply because cold chain gaps went undetected. Recipients of those vials failed to develop adequate antibody levels, leaving pockets of vaccinated but susceptible children in the community. And that is what you do not want. You do not want your children to be vaccinated but susceptible, okay? So, with the manufacturing and regulatory quality concerns, and this over here was cold chain storage failures, okay? So what we're talking about, cold chain storage, anything that has to be kept cold or at a certain temperature, this is cold chain, the cold chain supply management, okay? It's incredibly important to keep these things at a certain temperature, plus or minus whatever. Any violation, any problem in that, and it's, there's going to be problems. Okay, so the other part for this is the manufacturing itself. Okay, stringent good manufacturing practices, and this is what I was talking about before. Independent regulatory audits ensure each batch meets potency, purity, and sterility standards. When a manufacturer cuts corners or falsifies data, vaccines can be both subpotent and contaminated, which means getting the vaccine is not just useless, it's actually unhealthy. It could actually cause secondary infections. Okay, so and that's something you don't want to go get a vaccine, and not only are you not vaccinated against the measles, but you also caught some kind of infection because the measles vaccine was contaminated with a fungus or a bacteria or something like that. Okay, so in the real world, 2018, that was just like, that wasn't very long ago. That was like less than okay, it's 2025, okay, quick math, 7 years ago. Okay, so 7 years ago, China's biotech was found to have fabricated production and inspection records and arbitrarily changed process parameters while making freeze-dried human rabies and DPT vaccines. Over 360,000 doses of substandard vaccines were sold before regulators intervened, triggering a massive recall, hefty fines, and criminal investigations. Okay, this is one of the reasons. See, this stuff was made in China. Now, I have worked in China. I worked there for about a year and a half, and I had a manager there. He was a Chinese guy. The only thing he ever said to me was, "Is it cheaper? Must be cheaper. Has to be made cheaper. Do it cheaper. Find cheaper ways. Cheaper. Okay? In an environment where cost is the only important factor, quality can be compromised. And when we're talking about vaccinations, we cannot compromise quality. Okay, it's very, very important. And this is the thing that Ted Kennedy was worried about, is if the vaccines have been compromised because of cold chain supply management, or the actual manufacturing of the vaccines was compromised, then we are doing more harm than good. Because first of all, we're vaccinating children and thinking they're vaccinated when it's ineffective. And second of all, we could be actually putting some kind of toxic substance into the child's bloodstream and not even realizing it. Okay, so we could be causing more harm than good. So that's what Ted Kennedy was worried about. Okay, so as your congressional representative, if you decide to vote for me, one of the things I'm going to ensure is absolute certainty that 100% of all measles vaccines are made in America, as well as stored and shipped using the highest level cold chain management protocol. Okay, and good news on that, as of 2022, up to 2022, Measles, mumps, rubella vaccines, and plus another one, CGD. CGD is actually a vaccination that your child gets for bacterial infection that is tuberculosis related. Okay, and that's something you definitely want to worry about is tuberculosis, because it's still out there. Tuberculosis has killed more human beings than all of the people killed by all of the diseases and all of the wars that have ever happened. Okay, tuberculosis has killed more people than everything that has ever killed anyone. Okay, tuberculosis is that bad. It is the #1 killer of humans just across the board. Okay, so as of 2022, up to 2022, all measles, mumps, rubella vaccines were made in America. Highest possible protocols, highest possible standards, highest possible everything. Okay? So there have been some places opened up in China, and I'm sure that eventually America is going to try to send some of its manufacturing over there for the MMR vaccines. As your congressional representative, I will do everything in the world to prevent that from ever happening. Because, like I said, the only thing that they care about in China is cheaper. Cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. I don't want American children to be vaccinated by the cheapest possible vaccine. I want American children to have the best possible medical care, and I want it to be made in America so that we can control it, so that we can have all kinds of accountability. Okay, so that will be one of my primary concerns, is ensuring all vaccines that are taken by Americans are made in America. Highest possible protocols. Okay. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. Another thing I want to talk about is, okay, what's getting talked about? Hey, we're deporting illegal aliens. And yes, we are deporting illegal aliens, and that's a good thing. We want to deport the criminals. We want to deport the bad people. And one of the ones that is taking the headlines, of course, is the Kilmar Obrego Garcia. He was deported to El Salvador after it was found out he was an MS-13 gang member. And the thing is, everybody's saying, well, he wasn't like a gangbanger, and you don't have to be a gangbanger to serve MS-13. And this is what was happening. November 2022, in Tennessee, he was stopped. And he was driving an SUV along with 8 men. So there's 9 people in this SUV. And he is driving from Texas up to Maryland. Okay, so he's obviously transporting these 8 people from Texas to Maryland. And so my question is, why drive 8 people 1,200 miles? That's about 24 hours of driving if you do nonstop. Flying is faster, it's cheaper, and it's safer. And here's the thing, even if you are an illegal alien, you can still get on an airplane. All you need is an ID. Okay, they'll sell you a ticket, they'll let you fly. Okay, you can fly, okay? So the reason that they were driving is because it keeps the travel from being recorded by government organizations. So basically, our friend there, Mr. Garcia, he wanted to get these 8 people from Texas up to Maryland, so that in a way that the government wouldn't know about that. So that's a little bit suspicious to me. I mean, why do you want these 8 people to go from Texas to Maryland? You could say, yeah, well, they've got jobs that are available up there. You could have flown them. You could put them on an airplane and flown them. Okay, you want to do it in a secret way. Well, it's entirely possible that those 8 men were part of some kind of criminal conspiracy. Maybe they're setting up a crystal meth house. Maybe they're doing something with prostitution. Maybe there's some kind of mafia hit that's going out on somebody. But for some reason, they didn't want the government to know that these 8 men were being transported from Texas to Maryland. okay? And that's kind of suspicious to me, and that makes me think that that's not the first time that Mr. Garcia has done that. I mean, this is a regular thing for him. This is what he does for MS-13. He takes people across the country so that they can do illegal things, okay? So by deporting him, we're deporting an active member of MS-13. So if people come to the U.S. for a better life, isn't it reasonable to assume that part of the life they are escaping from is criminal activity? Now, aren't we as Americans obliged to keep these people safe from the criminal element they're escaping from? And the criminal element they're escaping from is MS-13. I mean, there are a lot of people in Maryland who are from these countries, you know, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Belize, you know, all these little countries down there where MS-13 is very pronounced. They came to America to be safe from MS-13. Isn't it up to us as Americans to make sure that they are safe from MS-13 in America? And yes, it is. And for all we know, Mr. Garcia may have been transporting these 8 individuals to Maryland to take out somebody who snitched on MS-13. So, I mean, it's, it's very possible, okay? So, if we choose to remain blind and naive to the criminal activities that keep these refugees in a state of terror inside the country they came to in order to get away from that fear, then isn't America just as bad as the country they're getting away from? Yes, yes we are. See, I want people to come to America. I want migrants. I want people from all over the world to feel like they can come to America and be safe. But we have to keep them safe. We have to keep these people at least as safe as American citizens have an expectation of being. And American citizens don't generally concern themselves with MS-13 gang members because that's in Central America. That's a third world country problem. That's not an American problem. Well, we don't want the third world problems coming to America. We don't want MS-13 in America. We don't want high levels of tuberculosis in America. We don't need those problems in America. And if somebody comes to America to be safe, it's up to us to keep them safe. Because that's part of the reason they're coming to America. We have a reasonable expectation of those people when they come to America that their children just may join the American military and fight for the American Constitution. Okay, so we need to keep them safe. And who are we keeping them safe from? We are keeping them safe from the people that are in Central America who might want to kill them. Okay, so that's who we're keeping them safe from. That's kind of an important thing right there. So the peril of willful blindness. America is built on both idealism and skepticism. We celebrate the underdog, we romanticize rebellion, but true freedom also demands that we guard our communities against those who would exploit our compassion. And that's what I'm talking about there. It's like we are emotional creatures that think logically, and so the first thing we want to do is defend the underdog. But reason requires that we check the underdog for fleas and rabies, okay? So, emotion versus reason. Romance of rebellion. It feels exhilarating to thumb your nose at the man, to see the authority as the ultimate enemy. This emotional high can blind us to very real dangers, especially when it comes to criminal activity. The fear of reprisal that these people have. Even when we suspect wrongdoing, we often look the other way rather than risk conflict or being labeled intolerant or worse, Nazis. And that is something that happens. The people in America who are standing up to these bad people are being called Nazis. Okay, in today's culture, the loudest voices sometimes call dissenters Nazis or bigots, effectively silencing logical concerns. The logical safeguards. Emotion drives us to break rules. Reason guides us to know where to draw the line. A society that never questions suspicious behavior is one that leaves its most vulnerable people, in this case, newcomers fleeing real threats, exposed to harm on these shores. Okay, so I welcome those seeking a better life in America. Please feel free to come to America. You're welcome here. We will keep you safe and warm. Compassion without vigilance is a recipe for chaos. We owe it to genuine refugees to keep our eyes open. The reason Kilmar Abrego Garcia was deported is because the powers that be, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, chose not to be willfully blind. So President Trump is keeping these people safe by not succumbing to willful blindness. Call President Trump what you will, hate him, do whatever, but time will be the judge. Time will ultimately be the judge. I mean, we want to be on the right side of history, and to be on the right side of history, you need to support what Donald Trump is doing. And this is leading me into my slogan, okay? So I have a second slogan here, and I'm going to show you what it is, okay? In my campaign, I'm using a slogan that reflects where the American people will find themselves by the end of Donald J. Trump's presidential term, okay? What I'm saying is there will be three camps in America: the faithful, who have always committed to supporting him; the awakened, who eventually came around to support him; and the stragglers, who chose credibility over comfort, knowing it would cost them a seat in their groupthink echo chamber. Your camp, faithful, awakened, or straggler, is your choice. Now, let me explain why this slogan works, not just as a rallying cry, but as an invitation, okay? It's built on the three pillars of persuasion, which are logic, emotion, and credibility. And here's what I'm talking about there. You have the persuasion triangle. I've told you before, humans are emotional creatures that think logically, and you see emotion and logic there at the bottom of the triangle. What trumps logic and emotion are credibility, trustworthiness, authority, tone, style, okay? Logic, okay, first the logic. The slogan presents a simple three-part structure, a way to understand how public opinion shifts over time. People support a cause early, later, or after real reflection. That's a pattern we all recognize. In the work environment, you're going to have management. And here's management up here. These managers are saying we go this direction. These managers are saying we go this direction. These are the stragglers down here. Now, the stragglers aren't clueless. I'm not saying clueless, I'm saying stragglers. These are the people who are depending on upper management to make a decision. Once upper management makes a decision, conservatives, liberals, Republicans, Democrats, that's the way the stragglers are going to go. They're waiting for somebody up here to make a decision. So once this happens, and I'm just predicting this, you're going to have the Democrats, the liberals come over to the conservative side because that's the side that makes sense to them. It's just, they're going to see that the conservative side is making progress, is doing the right things, is on the right side of history. And so you're going to have the people who always supported Trump, the people who eventually come around to support Trump, and you're going to have the stragglers, these people who are waiting for this to happen, and they are going to come around, and some people are going to be left behind. Okay, some people are going to be saying, no, I won't go conservative, end of story. These people who were on the liberal side of the fence, but they're coming towards the conservative side, they are going to choose credibility over comfort. These people are making them feel comfortable. They're in an echo chamber. They're like, hey, as long as you're with us, you're comfortable, we're happy. These people are going to leave the comfort for credibility, and these people are going to call them fascists and Nazis and horrible people, and you're a Trump thumper, and you're a Trump sympathizer, and did you vote for Donald Trump and stuff like that. They're going to hate them, but these people are going to come over realizing that it's the right thing to do. If you want to be on the right side of history, you will go in this direction. Okay, it's just, I mean, that's just, I think it's common sense. I think even the most dedicated liberals down here can see that the agenda is toxic, that the narrative is extremely flawed, and that coming to the conservative side is going to be helpful to America as a whole. Okay, and so that's what I'm talking about there. And yeah, the credibility, the slogan doesn't just point fingers, it gives people space to change their minds with dignity. In fact, it honors those who make the hard choice to break from the echo chamber, to choose credibility even though it costs them socially. And that's real courage, okay? And so this, yeah, it doesn't attack our opponents. And something that Bruce Starr is, he's the representative, he's the Congress, or the senator that represents McMinnville. He came out to us at our Republican rally the other day, and he said, we need more Republicans in Oregon's state Congress. And this is the way we're going to get more Republicans there. We're not going to insult them, we're not going to degrade them, we're not going to berate them, we're not going to alienate them. We're just going to show them our agenda, show them our narrative, show them our direction, show them which way we're going, and let them know when they decide to come over, they will be accepted. And if they decide to leave, that's acceptable too. Because what we want good, responsible government that protects everyone's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's ultimately the goal there, okay? So, faithful, awakened, or straggler, what camp will you choose? And here I am, my pretty face. By the end of Donald J. Trump's presidential term, there will be 3 camps in America: the faithful who have always committed to supporting him, the awakened who eventually came around to support him, and the stragglers who chose credibility over comfort, knowing it would cost them a seat in their groupthink echo chamber. Your camp, faithful, awakened, or straggler, will be entirely up to you. So that's what I wanted to get across, and I hope if you don't like the message, if you find any problem with it, leave a comment in the chat. You know, that's what they got it for. And so leaving with this, never underestimate the collective potential for a tyranny and hypocrisy from strategically placed, ideologically indoctrinated politicians and the activists who enable them. Just remember that, because you know, that's kind of an important concept. And so we're done here. So I want to just leave a shout out for air. Air. If you're not breathing it, you're just not living your life. My name is Tom Timbrooks. I am running for Oregon's 6th Congressional District for U.S. Congress. Please vote for me. Thank you very much for listening to what I have to say.